Xtalks is the industry leader in connecting life science, food, healthcare, and medical device professionals. The Xtalks Life Science podcast features insightful conversations with industry experts about all things pharma, biotech, and more.
Hello and welcome to the Xtalks Life Science Podcast. I'm Ayesha Rashid, Senior Life Science Journalist at Xtalks.com. And this week, I'm delighted to introduce a very special guest on the show. We have with us today Dr. AnnMarie Hipsley, who is the CEO and founder of Ace Vision Group, which is an ophthalmic laser device company that is bringing innovative touchless eye laser therapy to patients suffering from age-related vision loss. The company is developing innovative touchless microporation therapeutics for the aging eye and is a thought leader in the healthcare technology space as well. Dr. Hipsley is a vision scientist, inventor, entrepreneur, author, and speaker on ocular biomechanics and the biomechanical rejuvenation of the aging eye. She invented an innovative laser solution, which we will talk more about, of course, in this episode. Dr. Hipsley also pioneered the innovative laser scleral microporation system, which is an in-office treatment that restores the eye's natural range of focus by scleral uncross-linking. Over the past 25 years, Dr. Hipsley has trained more than 100 ophthalmic surgeons worldwide in using near-infrared lasers for tissue microporation. Dr. Hipsley is passionate about educating the healthcare space on the global burden of uncorrected presbyopia, particularly the socioeconomic and quality of life implications of the condition. To hear more about Ace Vision Group's innovative approaches to vision health and more about Dr. Hipsley's work in the area and the field, let's turn to her now. Dr. Hipsley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ayesha. This is such a pleasure and an honor to be on Xtalks. I feel grateful to be invited and just most grateful to be able to finally, get a larger audience to hear about this global, really a public health problem that's really has not had a solution for 100 years, and we've failed to make anything of any big mark in this space. And it's just very hopeful that now that we're treating the real problem of age, instead of attempting to look at presbyopia as a vision correction issue, hopefully we can finally make a dent in this and bring something and change people's lives.
And Dr. Hipsley, we are so grateful and fortunate to have you on the show, as you are a leader in bringing those solutions to this space. So thank you so much for all that you do, and we are looking forward to learning so much from you. And once again, thank you for your time today.
I really appreciate it. And, I didn't get here and lead here by myself. I have such an amazing KOL and MAB team. Amazing engineers and amazing perseverance, board of directors and stakeholders that have been in this game as long as I have been, many of them patients and receivers of the technology, and just the kind of science that's been done in this last 25 years over 3 device iterations, still not commercial, because we wanted to bring something that was absolutely be able to come into the market by a storm. And that required a lot more technology sophistication. So COVID was bad news for most people, but we had just raised $13.3 million on our Series A and closed it in the middle of COVID, which was a miracle. I think it was a miracle. And we were able to bring on digital engineers and actually build a 2030 kind of device for the future.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I think that's just a testament to the dedication and commitment that you have as a leader in the field. And I'd like to ask you more about Ace Vision Group and how you came to found that. What was your motivation behind it? And what was that journey like? When did you found it? And how has the journey evolved as you've made so many strides in this space?
So yeah, my background is not ophthalmology. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and a PhD, but I was in an incubator startup building with an ophthalmologist who became one of my friends. And I was very sort of pseudo famous in my area for taking aging athletes, no matter how old, and keeping them competitive in sports. And so I became a specialist actually in aging athletes. So my ophthalmologist friend and I were having dinner, and he said, "You're bored. You've done everything you can." I started my practice when I was 24, and I grew it to 5 practices, sold it to a public company before 30. And he just said, "You need something more exciting. Do presbyopia." And I'm like, "Why?" And I looked at the eye problem and said, why don't we just make it move again? I mean, let's just rehabilitate it. He, "Well, what are you talking about?" I'm like, so I think I looked at this a way that no one could see in ophthalmology. And it's still a paradigm shift because we're still stuck in a presbyopia correction world. I've been trying to push the message of presbyopia, the aging disease, for a very long time. And it's finally starting to move the needle because I think the failure of being able to do presbyopia vision correction without losing something else that patients want, people want, and quality of life has got to be most important now. I think that's moved the needle, and people have paused and sort of raised their hands like there is no market. I think we're the only thing in the market besides drops, which do make sense because not everybody wants a procedure, a therapy, or a surgery. So I think just translating my expertise in biomechanics was really tough to do because it didn't sound possible to optics worlds. We're still exchanging optics, either the lens or the cornea for a correction solution. Yet the slippery slope is it's going to progress. No matter what you do, you're never going to catch it. So I knew that also with Microporation and our first handheld treatment, I needed a way to move with the disease. Our patients were super happy, but they came back and said, "Can I get more?" At the time, the answer was, "I don't know how to give you more." So all these learnings and science brought us to a world where you do have finally AI that can do thousands of simulations and give a precision medicine treatment and give it to you today and predict what you're going to need tomorrow. We didn't have that technology until now. And so we took advantage of our 2020, COVID pause on clinical studies to develop a predictive diagnostics system called BESA, Virtual Eye Stimulation Analyzer, which is a digital twin of your eye, could be digital twin of anybody's eye at any age. And it's the first digital twin eye. And we were only doing that for our procedure, but wow, it became something that will probably change ophthalmology forever in every procedure.
That's fascinating just to learn about the journey. And I also find it so interesting, and it's so amazing how you utilized your background in physiotherapy, and that really gave you a different perspective, a different, fresh, innovative perspective that you brought to the table, and leading the fantastic work that you've come to lead at Ace Vision. So that's awesome. Very, very fantastic to learn about. And so could you tell us a bit more about the two main devices or the two main therapies that you've helped develop at Ace Vision?
Sure. Well, one is erbium YAG. That wavelength was brought to us by Professor Daniel Aaron Rosa, who accidentally adopted me. I've been adopted by a lot of really people that I've knocked on their door. I call myself the Aaron Brockovich of ophthalmology. If somebody had our knowledge, I'd go walk on the door. And so I knocked on the door of Daniel Aaron Rosa, and she taught me so much and mentored me in ophthalmology because I was a stranger. I was an alien in ophthalmology I couldn't even get on the podium, right? I wasn't an ophthalmologist, but she mentored me. Professor Dan Marshall, who is currently still on our scientific advisory board, is still mentoring me. He's the inventor of the excimer laser. And I knocked on the door of Yanni Poikris in Greece, who was the inventor of LASIK. And, I think these mentors, including Theo Seiler, who's the cross-linking, and he said, he really coined it. You're doing the opposite of what I'm doing. You're making people younger. And having these mentors really is really beneficial because when you have a long journey, what excimer was like cross-linking wells, people say, why does it take so long. Well, it does. It takes long because you have to check off the boxes for the patient. So the urban mag wavelength is different. It's very short. So to be able to take that 100 millimeters off the eye surface and have no pain, no blood, no pain, no downtime, you can just go shopping or do whatever you want, read your phone right away, was a big wow that had to beat the LASIK wow because we are in a world of convenience. And so to, follow that act was pretty hard. And, most of one of my MABs, Dr. Steve Silverstein used to say, when you say you could do this to your mother, then we're ready. My aunt and my mom already had cataract surgery, but I did do lots of my relatives.
That's amazing.
Nice thing is that we just, Jim Sims, who's on our board, been in ophthalmology for 40 years, really gave us some boxes to check off. And it takes a while to check those boxes off. And this is when early on, we didn't have OCT, we didn't have anything to see inside the eye. Now we have an OCT on board. So we've combined almost all the new technologies that we have access to, we've leveraged in our technology. So an interior select OCT is patented. It's in the same line with laser, so it provides visuality, vision, imaging, and safety. That laser took a while to get there. We finished our Gen 1 handheld clinicals studies with Dr. Bobby Anger in the Philippines. We now have a 24-month, 2-year cohort showing very promising results. And we're getting ready to open it for a retreatment study. We would never been able to do that without AI and machine learning. We can actually trace and register all of our previous treatments and then provide another treatment to get them another 2 to 5 years. So these are things we will not possible with handheld things. And so that technology grew with some really brilliant engineers trying to pluck my ideas out of my brains and put what people might have said was impossible to reach the extreme parts of the eyes with an eye tracker. And so there's a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of invention, and therefore it took a long time. LSM was an easier thing for me, which laser scleral microporation. Microporation therapeutics is not new. It's new to ophthalmology, but we do gene therapy with microporation. We do cancer treatment with microporation. So laser scleral microporation, the aim of that really was to just change the biomechanical properties in hard tissue in the eye and make it softer in these 4 areas and allow that to move, the globe to move inward and upward like it does normally when you're young and without touching optics. There's a lot of stuff going on, not just the front of the eye, but also that elastic choroid, like a slingshot. So we had to make sure, lots of studies, where do we need to put these? How much tissue do we need to remove? Less is best. Right now we're doing, one treatment, one size fits all, but we know with our Gen 2 predictive diagnostics, we're going to be able to come up with now custom treatments.
So wonderful to learn about these very, very innovative approaches. And like you said, I think just taking concepts and technologies from other spaces and bringing them in to ophthalmology, I think that's just so fantastic what you've done. And so in terms of the laser treatment, it's known as, or it's touchless. So can you explain what is meant by the procedure being touchless?
Well, you don't have a docking station on the eye. Today we do dock because it's a handheld. It's all basically automated, and it's a robotic system that drives the laser, and the laser moves around and all you do is look at the aiming beam and move your eye into the right direction in 3 to 5 seconds. Your treatment is done in each quadrant. It takes about 5 minutes for each eye. Basically, speculum in, speculum out, time you have to change, but you don't have to reposition the head. You position one time, so that all saves the surgeon lots of time. So you just position the patient once, and of course, we integrated. It's not available and won't be available probably in the U.S., and we're working on it. And just disclaimer, this is not available in the USA right now. This technology exists, but it has not been, let's say, implemented. So in a wireframe, we do have plans for our Vera. She's our virtual integrated remote assistant. We do have remote capabilities in our prototypes where we're able to run the laser with a laptop and across the world. So we have lots of capabilities which all need regulatory refinements and won't be in our first, device. But exciting thing is those things do exist on the bench and are ready to be implemented, with the funding and once we get across the efficacy and safety studies that we're planning in the US. The main difference between our approach, presbyopia, this approach, and others is you age-related advanced glycation end products or ages. We all know that about skin and hair and wrinkles. Well, ages cross-link every connective tissue in our body. And those cross-links occur in the sclera. And we kind of coined the term uncross-linking only because we're really disrupting the cross-links and unwinding those collagen fibers by really removing tissue so that they can't, removing a certain area of those cross-links. And that's what we're doing. But the uncross-linking is just a colloquial way of saying, we're doing the opposite of what the cross-linking is doing. We're trying to rejuvenate that tissue. So I think that's the most biggest difference. Is they're really attacking the problem. We can't do anything about the lens per se, but we can keep the lens moving. And I always tell people, and I love Dr. Eng because he's like, yes, I tell my patients, you have to exercise. And they actually feel their muscles moving in their eye. Most people never thought about a muscle being in your eye. That's the shape of your lens. It's like, I do. And so I was early on would tell ophthalmologists, like, what are you talking about? We don't get taught that. There's one's ocular pathway. No, there's four's ocular pathway. So my KOLs have to come to a retreat and get their brains fried and
rewired.
We're now doing what's called the Presbyopia Challenge, just a little commercial for our QR. We're challenging ophthalmologists and eye care professionals to take a challenge and test yourself for what you really know about presbyopia. So we're hoping to get that done into a qualitative study and try to publish that because we don't understand aging correctly. The aging problem is biomechanical, and I did publish my doctoral manuscript, which was Physiodynamics, a biomechanical model for the aging eye. And that basically explains, that this is all biomechanical. In fact, aging everywhere is biomechanical, but it does have a refractive consequence when it happens in your eye. It's not a refractive error, it's a refractive consequence. Now, that's not to say there's very good reasons to do SMILE and monovision and these kinds of procedures where your people's quality of life significantly impacted by this, LASIK and different multifold quality. It works for some people. Some people are very, very happy with that. I don't think this is a replacement therapy. I think it's probably a good place to start for a young person. And I think it'll have a huge impact and being able to treat someone over time and through that life cycle. We can treat anybody, hopefully in the future, whenever you start to when you finish. Today, you're just dealing with +2.25. You're already very low cross-linked. And we need to work on those algorithms, which are harder than having you start, we starting up here, working downward. So I think just that paradigm shift, looking at this as a disease. And when we get in a little bit later to the burden disease question, we talk about that.
For sure. Wow, it's so fascinating. And I love the educational component there as well, where you're, reteaching or reprogramming ophthalmologists themselves in terms of seeing this problem as a biomechanical one. So that's fantastic. And you did touch on this, but what are some of the core or key differences between this technology, this touchless laser technology, and something like LASIK?
So most of all, it's not touching the cornea or we're not manipulating optics in the cornea like LASIK would do. We're not taking a lens out like intraocular surgeries would do. So it's very low invasive. We're outside the visual axis. So that's what makes this an exciting challenge, although because it's outside of visual access and it doesn't affect, you don't lose your distance vision. You don't have to compromise, halos, glares, any of those photophobias. You don't have any of that because we're really not manipulating any optics or changing light dispersion as it enters the pupil. So I think that's one of the most important things that risks that would go away. And I think it would make people more comfortable in seeking out eye care for presbyopia versus, we're really not going to be taking much business away from intraocular lens transplants or LASIK because those aren't our patients. Our patients are patients who are either require or desire a surgery or want to do LASIK, and they're wearing contacts and glasses. And those patients aren't in ophthalmology surgery today. They're in optic shops and in CVS, and grocery stores. I mean, really, our patients are those patients. There's good reasons to do SMILE, LASIK on folks with refractive error. Those wouldn't be our patients because those patients require, two things really. They have a refractive error issue or a lens issue, a lenticular issue that we can't solve with our technology, and they have presbyopia. So some of these new combination things are really good solutions for improving quality of life. And even drops, I think, still have a runway to go here. Um, I think there's a billion people here with presbyopia. So not everybody, I think putting choice in the patient, the choice, giving options, they really have limited options, so choice will be important.
That is wonderful to really have those choices, because I think a lot of patients become discouraged when they go in and see a specialist and they're just faced with very limited options. And
Most of the emmetropic presbyopes, people like me who have perfect distance vision and start to
lucky you.
You're, doing this, and when I won't turn my font up, I refuse to turn my font up, right? They will. We don't go necessarily to ophthalmologists because we don't have a eye issue. What we might go to an optometrist. You say, I really, if you want to spend $1,000 or $2,000 for progressive, you can get those, or just go to CVS and join the club. I call it the necklace club. I have pictures on my phone. I make a collage. Everybody wearing the reading glasses,
Right.
necklaces. They're more men than women. And I like your necklace. Can I take a picture? I have so many eyeglass necklaces, and join the glass necklace club. And they just face the aging problem. And interesting. Some research, some qualitative research is entering into our field, which is nice. Um, People aren't worried that they can't read 20/20. They're actually embarrassed, stressed out, and it's emotional for them to have to admit, oh my goodness, I'm old and I have to put those things on. No way.
Yeah.
It's an experience of that,
I know my parents actually went through that. Like my sister and I, we have, we're nearsighted. We've been wearing glasses since like grade 5, and my parents no glasses. And then when they started to need the reading glasses, they were just like, in denial. Like, no, we the aesthetics, and they're not vain people or anything, but it was just like a huge change, especially later on in life, right? Yeah. So
it's not the time in your life where you want to admit defeat either.
Right.
So I think, if they're emmetropic and they've never worn glasses, we are the people who are most motivated because they're begging for a solution. Because adult learners, we don't like to learn as adults.
Mm-hmm. It's
I
hard.
know myself. I went to the Genius Lab because I'm an HP girl. I can't do it. I cannot. But adult learning is hard, and having to. It's almost, this is a vision disability, maybe not to us, but again, when we get to global burden of disease, we have convenience centers, but a large number of population, 480 million, don't have access to eye care or 300 miles or more from an eye care professional. So these people are impacting GDP. There's huge socioeconomic disparities. And so, and there's no real vision surveillance has been done by, Vision 2020, but we failed really to address vision disparities in the world, in this country. And even here, vision disparity can be caused because of transportation equity and or cultural competence. And let's not go into, health literacy. Nobody knows what presbyopia means. We need to come up with a better word. Nobody English speaking who have college degrees knows what presbyopia means. And the second problem is the de-emphasis on vision health, despite it's the number one disabling problem in health economics, second only to cancer in our country. But we do not emphasize or cover adult vision health. And it's not considered an essential benefit, which you probably already know. And even if they have health insurance, guess what? They can't afford the glasses and the progressives.
Right.
They can't afford, some of them, the co-payment. So they can't afford to buy, they can't afford to use their health insurance. It's a super public health issue of which I'm on the sort of political forefront, writing a public health brief, policy brief, to try to move this administration coming up to do something about it.
I love that. And you've brought up such important points in terms of, I think eye health is put on the back burner a lot of the time. But like you said, if it's compromised, that's such a significant disability to have. And I think the work you're doing and the awareness that you're building, the education in this space, I think it's so invaluable. So thank you so much for all of this amazing work that you're doing. And it's so, so appreciated to really bring such an important topic to the forefront. And you mentioned, the global impact, the global kind of situation or circumstances around vision health. And could you tell us a bit more about that? Of course, even in a place like the US, like you mentioned, if you don't have health insurance, or even if you do. And so how do you see we address this as a global, all-encompassing issue?
Yes. So approaching this as a public health burden is really the way that I'm framing it out. And it's sort of my passion was never to, my passion always was, why can't we, change the rate of avoidable blindness? That's what motivated me into this. And I got inspired and even more inspired by most of my out of US studies. I did a study in Venezuela. These people, I would come back to do their follow-ups and they were back to work. I didn't even recognize, they were selling fruit on the stands. And I do have a mission through iAware.tv, which is my non-for-profit 501(c) corporation, that organization I started to fulfill this other passion in me. And we do missions in Cambodia, and I've done several missions in Cambodia to Khmer Sight Foundation. And recently, we decided to shift our entire platform to presbyopia because 89% of the blindness, avoidable blindness, is due to presbyopia in Cambodia. But by the way, most in the world, the number one contributor to vision disability and avoidable blindness is uncorrected presbyopia. So I hyper focus on myopia, but this being ignored. And so we're changing our website, we're changing our entire campaign to do all focus on the presbyopia challenge and get awareness platform put together. And again, as I said, making it a public health endeavor means we need the whole community. We need the ophthalmic industry, we need the doctors, we need the patients, we need to understand how to reach communities that have socioeconomic disparities. We need to address cultural competency. We need to address health literacy. And we need to change the way we're communicating information and getting that information. And we need to utilize community and healthcare workers to engage with those local communities. It's a big job. But you have to start, we have to start with this. And I'm hoping, and I'm seeing a lot of shift in trends You used to see MD, MBA as your dual degree, and you're seeing a lot of ophthalmologists come out and optometrists, MD, MPH. So I think the shift towards social inequities and public health is trending now. It's trending just as much as the AI side, right? And so that's something that health promotion campaigning, and this is something, a whole education that I'm actually getting, for the last 3 years. And I started to endeavor and said, why am I not changing? Why am I not moving the needle? And I'm not moving the needle because I didn't have the skill sets of health promotion and understanding how difficult it is to get even people to change how to think about presbyopia is changing their behavior.
Wow, that's amazing. Really moving the needle indeed. And I think that's such an important perspective to have. And there are a lot of moving parts. And like you mentioned, a lot of elements, components, and to really bring them together, I think that's going to be key in moving that needle, as you mentioned. And so in terms of vision health and eye health in general, are there things people can do to maintain their eye health? It may seem like a very elementary kind of a question, but I feel like since, we're in front of screens, a lot of us, the entire day. So what are some things that people can really do to mitigate the effects of devices and other things on our vision?
So I'm just going to go back to your parents, right? It was a great real life example. So real life, presbyopia, real life, real lived experiences. This is a paper that I'm putting together to get published. What we found out is people aren't aware, and it's not a dumb. There's a lot of information. People just don't know it's there. So what I'm consolidating on our website at the EyeAware TV is a presbyopia awareness campaign that's going to be called "The World is Bright, Save Your Sight," and it's going to have various things in there, information. By the way, we know this, but we don't really think about it. Carrots are good for your eyes, and there's a reason why.
Okay, then. Okay, I want to hear this.
So lutein and cooking for. I don't remember the author, but there is an author that has a book, and I'm going to have to call her and get her book on our site. But it's called "Eat Right for Your Sight," and there's wonderful recipes in there. So there's a whole lifestyle that haven't been brought to therefore. It fits in and it's easy to adopt because we're all doing the whole foods thing. We're all thinking about, I think more now than ever, we're thinking about, reading labels. We started reading labels in the 2000s, right? And, my son reads his labels, right? Our parents never read the labels.
No, they still don't.
No, we're looking at the calories and the salt and the fat. I'm not eating that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I can't eat anything now.
So I think X gens, Y gens, and Z gens, and I'm really doing this and baby boomers all have different lifestyle needs out of communicating a presbyopia message, right? I think there's two spectrums of education and marketing, and treatment considerations are, if you go down to the X gen and the Y and the Z side, they would be happy to sit under a laser and talk to Vera, the virtual assistant, and never see their doctor in the laser video and be text relationship. But the baby boomers are not going to do that.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to understand your generational needs. But I think the Y and the Z geners, they're hoping not to get presbyopia. We're going to help them to reduce the chance of vision loss. So we want to prevent vision loss. But in our already presbyopic places where your parents are, we want to bring them back, okay, as much as we can. We're never going to get somebody back from 50-year-old, we call it visual age. So most people have a lower visual age than their age. A higher visual age than their age. And one of our studies, we showed that most people who are 50-something in a +2.25 calculate out to be 62-year-olds in visual aids. And we're able to bring them back 18 years. We can't bring you back to 25, but we certainly give you,
18
you
is
know,
great.
some
Yeah.
freedom
Yeah.
that improve your quality of life. And I know you'll hear this probably from some other people you've interviewed or in ophthalmology. We're all saying intermediate vision is the new near vision, right? Because no one, are you sewing things? Are you, we don't care if we can thread a needle anymore. That used to be the commercial for
Right.
presbyopia.
That used to be the gold standard.
Disposable. We shop at Sheen, I mean, we call it disposable clothing, but anyway, we're not really doing those kinds of things. We're using our phones and our laptops and our digital devices, and near vision isn't as important as it used to be. But I think that's a shift that happened with digital technology
Mhm.
evolution.
Indeed. Wow, those are just so such great perspectives and to put things into context. And in terms of just the landscape of vision tech and vision health, how do you see the landscape evolving? I know that you mentioned AI is enabling a lot of new innovations and allowing, people like yourselves, researchers, innovators, to really, you know, break that ceiling and to really get into new realms of innovations. And so how do you see the field evolving? How far has it come, and where do you see it going in, let's say, the next 5 to 10 years?
So I think I would mix that answer in, and what challenges does ACE Vision foresee? I would put those two things together. So innovation's certainly evolving. Unfortunately, in med device and healthcare, the regulatory barriers are large, cybersecurity, and for good reasons. And I know one of the opinion leaders at Google came to one of the OIS, and they were talking about big data sharing and all of this, and that just hasn't happened. We have made some strides in my chart, which was a very difficult platform for them to put through, and now that's an everyday thing. We must move. We must have better um, ways to demonstrate our evidence-based data to regulatory bodies and show them benefit and value and health economic value, and compared to global burden of disease. That has to be put together, because we're trading off a lot of flowing and innovation. And there hasn't been a new spurt of allowing that barrier to come down in the US anyway. And there's been little spurts. We also, as researchers and medical device developers, have to do a better job at teaching FDA and bringing the evidence-based data, and showing that data, and as it relates to the impact in public health. I think that's just been ignored. So at ACE Vision, it's scary, because we have to focus on our core competencies, which are, we're doing we'd like to show that we're doing, that we're doing a safe procedure, of course, and we're hoping to um, get a handshake from the FDA to help us do an adaptive clinical study. So telling them as much up front so they can guide us, and getting good experts, innovative experts on our team to help. And FDA is there for a reason, they're there for a good reason. And I think some people take FDA as the bad guy, but I've talked to those folks. They do want to help. They want innovation to come, and they're trying to help us get it there. It's up to us to work and partner with our regulatory bodies, our public health officials, and other, scientists to help us do it the correct way. So I think while it's a challenge, it's exciting, and I think it can be done.
And for ACE Vision, what kinds of ongoing research and additional applications of some of your technologies can we look forward to in the coming months, years, and beyond?
So we're laser focused at presbyopia at the moment, and we're really not we're really not coming out with a presbyopic device. It's actually a microporation therapy device. It's restoring a function in the eye. So there's so many things in the eye. It's the presbyopia is thought of an optical correction. That's not really what we're doing. we're actually hoping to make the eye healthier by, getting it moving again. So it's really a connective tissue treatment. And so that treatment and the way we are going to approach that is the dynamic range of focus and power work, where all the elements of the eye are moving. That may be a way, the direction we go with that technology. We haven't quite worked that all out yet. But we do have on the bench, and we have university studies and patents on ocular drug delivery with microporation therapeutics, which has already been done in other parts of the body. Now we're doing it in the eye. We do have some data. Our data suggests that we have a normal pensive eye, an IOP drop in a normal pensive eye. We've done a couple of compression studies in glaucoma. So I think there's a lot to explore. Those are the two disease areas we've actually developed on the bench and have basically benched that technology until we get our revenue streams for this first endeavor. And our remote procedure is very exciting. It's also very exciting from a public health perspective, since I have lots of wonderful doctors that joined me in Cambodia on this mission, a 31-hour flight back
Wow.
and forth. You can go to your office and just block off a half an hour and do mission work from your office. So it opens whole new doors of opportunity for reaching disparate communities.
And speaking about your nonprofit and all of the work that you do at a global level, what do you envision the organization doing in the next couple of years? And what are some of the projects that you're working on right now and key areas of focus?
So what our most key area right now is that we did develop this Gen 2 system in Europe. And this last year, we moved all the technology to the USA. And so we're now getting ready to name our manufacturer in US. So we're going through due diligence right now. We want to get a strong device manufacturer partner, strategic partner. We need that so that we can have scale and rapid prototyping. And that's what we're looking towards. We're getting ready to submit our 510(k) next year, finishing up our technical file. Huge job. So we'll be submitting that sometime next year between Q1 and Q2, hopefully. We brought on an excellent development partner here in the U.S., Vantage MedTech, which is a newly formed merged company between RBC Manufacturing and Sterling Med Device. I think they were brought together by Ampersand, and we're extremely pleased with the ability that they had in getting us up to speed and getting us ready for the FDA. They're an excellent firm. We're also partnering with people right now to help us get over the finish line. We're in our capital fundraising and Series B2. We're hoping to close by the end of the year and go rapidly into C so we can support our FDA study. There hasn't been a U.S. first technology for 20 years in med device and ophthalmology since Andy Corley's Interlace. And this has such a safety profile that we would love to start this technology in the U.S. first.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Dr. Hipsley, thank you so much for your time today and all of the amazing insights and the amazing work that you lead at Ace Vision. And I'm sure our audiences will gain some really important insights and really, I think, game-changing perspectives in terms of the education, technology, and all of the work that you're doing in the U.S., domestically, and globally. So really bringing everything together in an all-encompassing way for vision health and to further innovations in the field to help patients. So thank you so much for everything that you do, and thank you so much for your time once again today.
And thank you, Ayesha, and tell your parents there is hope for presbyopia life yet to come.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
What?
All right, that's the end of this episode of the Xtalks Life Science Podcast. If you liked today's very insightful, very educational show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.
To join the Xtalks community, visit Xtalks.com and register for exclusive access to curated content like live webinars, news articles, and educational videos. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers sharing them and should not be taken as professional advice, nor do they necessarily reflect the policy or position of Honeycomb Worldwide. For further information, email us at podcast@xtalks.com.